Hi, beloved. There's a few things more that I would like to talk to you about, and that is the forgotten ones. And when I say forgotten ones, I'm talking about the poor people on the streets, and I'm talking about the oppressed people, the people that Satan oppresses. And I didn't grow up seeing a lot of people on the streets until I moved out on my own, and I moved out to a new city, and I started seeing a lot of homeless people on the streets. And I'm going to talk to you based off of experience, because I'm certainly not a know-it-all, and I'm always searching the truth, and I will always be searching the truth. But from my own experience, there's some things that I feel that need to be said, and things that Yahshua HaMashiach needs and wants to be said. And since moving here, I have seen a lot of people on the streets, and all my life I've heard a lot of bad things about poor people. And what I hear most of all is, oh well, don't need to help them. They're either a drug addict or a drunk. That's all they're going to spend your money on. And something I want to say to you, does it matter what they spend your money on? Doesn't it matter more that you reached out to them, that you showed them that somebody cared? And for all you beloved, any of you beloved that have this view, please don't forget the scripture that says that any time you visit the person in prison, or you reach out to the poor, or you bring the poor in your home, you have reached out to Yahshua HaMashiach. You have reached out to him. He is that poor person. Every time you bring somebody in off the streets, you brought him in off the streets. Every time you gave your money to the poor person, you gave your money to him. He says to look out for the elderly, the widowed, the poor, the helpless, the needy. Why are we not doing this? Why do we close the door on them? Why do we have this prejudgment? Why do we judge why they're there? And if they are a drug addict, have you ever considered why? Did you know that nobody becomes a drug addict for no reason? They are always severely traumatized. And if you ever reach out to them and give them the time of day, you will find out that they have had a hard life. Even the rich people that turn into drug addicts, somewhere deep inside, they are hurt. Deep inside. They use this drug to try to escape whatever it is that keeps them bound. And by trying to use a drug, they keep themselves even more bound in imprisonment of sorcery, because that's what sorcery is. It's the use of drugs. It's the enslavement of drugs. And the spell of sorcery is the addiction of the drug. You know, I grew up in a town that was so little. It was a town of maybe 20,000, maybe, probably less. And there was nothing there for the youth. There was nothing there for us. You know what was there? Was crack, methamphetamine, and pot. That's what was there. That's what everybody got hooked on, because there was nothing to do. There's no outlets for the youth. There's not enough support groups for them. So they turn to drugs, because if you grow up in a place, in a town that's dead like that, then that means your parents are suffering. That means that there's most likely a conflict in your family. We need to reach out and pray for these poor souls. We need to grieve for them. We need to pray for deliverance over their lives so that they can be free. There's tons of sick people out there that are enslaved by Satan through infirmity, through disease, and I am one of them. He has tried to kill me since the beginning, and he is always after my health. And I don't hear preachers preaching that we can be healed through Yahshua HaMashiach. Why don't we hear this? Why? You know, there's no such thing as a chemical imbalance. Look it up. It's just a money maker. It's a scam. That's why these people, they take these antidepressants and they get nowhere. In fact, because they took an antidepressant and they relied on it for hope, Satan laughs at them more because they relied on him for hope. And that's why there's so many suicides. A lot of people say, well, how can a pill cause someone to kill themselves? Well, if you expect it to make you happy, can't you expect it to do the opposite? We are not supposed to rely on drugs for happiness. It can't be done. A chemical cannot make you happy. It's not a chemical that makes you happy. It's the way you feel about yourself. It's your well-being. It's the faith or the foundation that you were raised on. And if you weren't blessed with a good foundation, then you're going to crumble. I have seen my friends be dragged in the dirt by Satan. I have seen him entice them. That's all these drugs are, is enticement. And then I see Satan take Yahshua HaMashiach's beloved and keep them on the streets, and I see Satan harden the hearts of the beloved so that they won't help them because they have this prejudgment that they're a drug addict. They must be bad. They must have done something wrong to end up on the streets. Let me tell you something. I have been just at the door of being on the streets more times than I could tell you. Okay? And when you get that low, you cannot get out without help. You know why? You can't get help from the government without an address. You can't get a job without an address. You can't get a house if you can't get a job. And if you can't get a job without an address, how are you ever going to have a house? If you can't get help from the government without an address, how are you going to get out? Don't you understand that these people are trapped and they need us to not forget them? And Yahshua says to tithe, to give your 10% to his beloved, to support them. Don't give your money to these money-hungry preachers. Don't give your money to these big churches. Don't be fooled by these big churches. Yahshua HaMashiach is humble. His road is narrow. You will not meet a rich prophet. You will not meet a rich child of Yahshua HaMashiach. You will meet a rich child at heart of Yahshua HaMashiach. He says, blessed is the poor and the meek. He says that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich person to get into heaven. You want to know why? Because a rich person does not need faith to get through the day. They don't need faith to get through hard times. They use their money. Instead of relying on faith to get by, they rely on their money and to get them out. If they end up in hardships, they say, well, I'll hire a lawyer, or I'll do whatever it takes, whatever it costs. Yahshua HaMashiach's beloved, the poor people don't have this choice. Even if they don't believe in him and they're poor, they don't have this choice. They have to have faith. They have to have hope. They tell themselves, tomorrow is a new day. That's how they get by. And for all you people that say, oh, they like it that way, or they chose it, they don't get themselves out. How dare you? Nobody wants to be homeless. Just like nobody intends to be a drug addict. Nobody says, oh, I think I just want to be homeless. I think I want to go live on the streets and beg. No, it doesn't work that way. If they tell you that they like it that way, they have learned to accept it in order to survive. Don't you understand? We have to cope. And if we can't get out of the hardship because nobody will help us, then we end up accepting what it is. Just like if we get in a horrible relationship and we get so broken to the point that we have no love for ourselves, that we can't get ourselves out. And then people look at them and they scorn them. Well, they just allow themselves to be beaten, or they allow themselves to be cheated on, or they allow themselves to be dragged in the dirt. That's not, think about it. Put yourself in their shoes. These people are damaged. They need hope. They need somebody to come and be a light for them. They need to see that there's hope. They need to see love in others. We are not supposed to be closing the door on these people. Don't close the door on them. Anytime you help them, you have helped Yahshua HaMashiach. Don't forget that. He is the poor. Our Savior was not a rich man. He was hated. He was mocked. He was dragged into the dirt and he was murdered, and all his people, all his prophets have been dragged into the dirt. And in fact, if you want to know how to recognize a real prophet from a false prophet is always loved by the world. And the real prophet is hated because they don't compromise the truth and they stand up. And they tell it like it is. And people don't want to be told how it is. They don't want to be told that there's a hell. They don't want to be told that they can't sin. They don't want to be told that there's consequences. They want to be told it's all love, it's all grace. Don't worry. Go on, live how you're living. And if that's what you're being taught, folks, you're being lied to. Get out of these churches. Get out of these churches that keep false traditions. Get out of these churches that keep traditions. I tell you what, if they're keeping the Sunday Sabbath, they're keeping the Constantine Sabbath, that's the first sign that they're wrong. If they're telling you to keep Nimrod's Christmas and Ishtar's Easter, Ishtar, then they're wrong. If they're telling you to keep Valentine's Day, they're wrong. Do your research, beloved. We have been told all our lives that there's pagan roots to all this. Why is nobody looking it up? Why aren't you researching it? Why do you not care? Start tracing back the origins. Yahshua HaMashiach, the Father Yahweh, says to be a truth seeker. Do not be trapped in tradition. Do not think that you have learned it all. Do not get trapped in your own way of thinking. Strive to learn more. Strive for the truth, no matter how ugly it is. Wouldn't you rather have the truth over a lie? Search for Him. Be a truth seeker. Be a light of love. Be a peacemaker, a caregiver. Reach out to these people. Grieve for their souls, for that's all that matters. I hope that you hear my words, and the next time you see another broken person, I hope that you look at them differently if you have been looking at them with hard eyes. I ask for you to pray for them. I have seen too many beloved oppressed. Too many. We're not supposed to leave them that way. Yahshua HaMashiach came to save us. Don't forget that. Thank you, and I look forward to your comments as always. Yahshua HaMashiach bless you.